Welcome to Billabong Retreat Podcasts, a place to find simple ideas for living happier and healthier lives based on ancient wisdoms and modern science. You can find out more at www.billabongretreat.com.au/blog. We hope you enjoy.
Hi everybody, my name is Basia and I'm one of the yoga teachers here at Billabong Retreat. What I wanted to talk today about in this podcast is mindful eating. Now this is taken from a little mini workshop that I do here on our mindfulness retreats. Now mindful eating can be explained in three different ways or three different processes. The first process is discovering, so looking into your existing relationship to food. This is looking into your habits, your patterns, your habitual tendencies that you've brought in from your backgrounds in the way your family used to eat, if you eat in emotionally or unconsciously. So it's really looking into and getting curious at what existing is our relationship to food. The second part is then transforming the activity. So it's slowing down the act of eating or drinking and bringing much more awareness into the activity itself. This in mindfulness is using mainly the senses and bringing about more presence into the activity. And then the last aspect is really kind of the result of the first two, which is it changes your relationship to food. Mindful eating is about changing that relationship and bringing a lot more appreciation and a really balanced and healthy holistic approach to eating. So usually when it comes to mindful eating, the first place we want to start is to actually discover and look into our relationship to food. Now you can do this in a very long, extensive kind of way where you start to look at over a week or a month and keep a diary entry of some of your responses to some of these questions. But you can also just do it fairly short and brief by just having a look at your response and contemplating some of these questions. So the first question is, how often do you eat on the run? How often do you eat thinking about other things rather than just being present with your food? How often do you find yourself engrossed in conversation when you're also stuffing food in your mouth? How often do you find yourself multitasking with another activity? Some other questions that are also good to start to look at to become more familiar with our relationship to food is, have you ever caught yourself eating because you've been bored? And how often do you find yourself doing that? Or have you ever caught yourself eating because to relieve stress? Or just to feel better? And again, noticing how often you do that. But another aspect of mindful eating is also, you could say, in a positive slant of, how often do you pay attention to how your food actually affects you? So noticing the subtleness of energy increase or decrease. Noticing maybe the kick or the slum that different foods give you. The nourishment or depletion that you might feel in the body, and how your gut just generally responds to the food, as well as your mind. And then some other questions is to look back at the times you've been eating and also ask yourself, how often do you find yourself stopping to notice the texture of the food that you're eating? To also really smell and to explore the scent of the food. How often do you really stop to explore the flavor? Or even explore just looking at the food before you even consume it? And basically what mindfulness is doing, mindful eating, is actually bringing awareness to all that. Now there are a variety of approaches to mindful eating. Some come from Buddhism, some are rooted in Zen, and others come from yoga. But the essence of mindful eating, as with mindfulness, is learning to pay attention. I have used that word learning because it's something that actually needs to be learned primarily and then practiced, as it's not our natural conditioned tendency to do so. We now, because of all the information that we constantly have at us and that we actually sometimes seek even for, we are not paying attention to the act of eating, to the act of mindfully eating. And so we need to learn this practice to start to bring ourselves into a different relationship with our food. So what we're paying attention to is, why do we feel like eating? What emotions or needs might be triggering the desire to eat? What are we actually eating? Is it healthy or not? And how does our body respond to it? Just even when we take a moment of space between you and the food. Noticing the smell, the look, the feel, the taste of the food that you are eating. And how does it make you feel once you do taste it, as you digest it even, and throughout the day? Also, it's really about paying attention to how satisfied you are before, during, and after you're eating. And paying attention to the emotions before, during, and after. And one really beautiful technique that I found to be really helpful in changing our relationship to food is actually to trace where the food has come from. Trace it all the way back to who grew it, or what has died for it to come to you. How much has it been processed, fried, or overcooked? Or how fresh is it, alive with benefits for your body? Who has prepared the food, with what energy? And actually tracing your food back all the way to that root can actually help you to naturally change your relationship. So for example, if you were about to eat a nice fresh salad, maybe here at Billabong, your relationship with tracing that back to the root would be maybe imagining the beautiful farm that I know is not actually too far from here. It's just in Jurel that the veggies have come from and have been plucked by amazing, beautiful, heartfelt farmers who then have delivered it here pretty much just a day or two later. And so the food is incredibly fresh and alive with nutrients. And then the chef here also so passionate about cooking and feeding these souls that we have here with such nourishment, prepared with that love. And then of course with all the visual textures and preparation that has gone into it. When you start to then now eat that beautiful salad, you'll have a very different relationship to it. If you contrast that to maybe if you happen to have dropped into Macca's and are about to eat a hamburger, and you take a moment to trace back to where the, maybe if you're eating fries, where the potatoes came from, maybe from another country and in storage for a long period of time and probably have been pretty much died of all nutrients once it has come even into the country. Before then it has been fried in deep oils and been processed very quickly in the sense of from one person to the other with not much love. And so then your approach to that meal would be very different once you have traced it back. So mindfulness, in some contexts, it's been used as a diet because it actually does change your relationship to food. So naturally you don't feel compelled to eat maybe those foods that are not so beneficial for you. But it's actually not about giving up anything at all. It's actually about experiencing food more intensely and even the pleasure of it. But when you experience food much more intensely, you naturally start to see your body's reaction to it. And the wisdom of the body will tell you whether that this is something that it wants to be a part of, or if it's something that is not wanting to be a part of and not very helpful for it. So mindful eating is bringing about awareness into all these areas. And of course, you can do a simple exercise to help really slow your activity of eating down as well through taking an item, a very small item, and slowing it down through the senses. Now, I'll include this as a different meditation, but this was just a little bit about the theory behind mindful eating. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope some of these questions has helped into asking yourself them for the first part of mindful eating, to really discover your relationship to your food, to uncover some of your habits and patterns, and to slowly start to transform and change your relationship to it. Thank you.
You have been listening to a Billabong Retreat podcast, a place to find simple ideas for living happier and healthier lives based on ancient wisdoms and modern science. You can find out more at www.billabongretreat.com.au/blog. We hope you enjoyed, and we look forward to welcoming you again.